Chelsea 2, Bournemouth 0. Bournemouth defended very deep and very well and held on for quite a long time, but Chelsea eventually broke the deadlock through Pedro and sealed the win with a goal in the last 10 minutes through Eden Hazard to keep the winning streak going and score 12 from 12 points possible. 4 wins from 4 before the first international break. You could say Chelsea have had the perfect start to the season. Hello there guys and welcome back to 100% Chelsea from a review of the Chelsea 2 Bournemouth 0 game. And what a win. Like I said, like I just said in the intro, 4 wins from 4. You can't really ask for much more and I'm extremely happy with it. Of course, this is the review. There will be fan cams out later on. There will be a vlog out as well. So if you don't want to miss out on any of that, which we of course will provide for every single game this season, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea if you haven't already. And also don't forget to click that notification bell button and choose to be notified about all uploads. And also, let's see whether we can hit 800 likes on this video. We'd massively appreciate that. So make sure you smash the like button down below to just show us that you do enjoy our content. But getting straight into the review now and starting it off by speaking about our lineup. And there was one surprise in there that I didn't expect yesterday when I made the preview, of course. So the lineup was obviously a 4-3-3 formation, Keba Arrizabalaga in goal, a back four, Cesar Azpilicueta and Marcos Alonso as the 2 fullbacks, David Luiz and Antonio Rudiger as the 2 centre-backs. Yet again, it was David Luiz rather than Andreas Christensen, as a lot of people are asking for, especially on Twitter. A midfield 3 of Jorginho, N'Golo Kante and Mateo Kovacic. As it was last week away at Newcastle, it was Eden Hazard on the left wing, but it wasn't Pedro on the right wing. Willian started ahead of Pedro, which, I was quite surprised by. Didn't really know why, simply because Pedro had played really well so far this season. But at the end of the day, I don't really see too much difference between them. So it's not a change that I mind at all too much. Although Pedro obviously came on and scored, so it all worked out for the best. And of course, Alvaro Morata starting up front. Bournemouth, on the other hand, though, changed their formation from the 4-4-2, which they started with in all of their first 3 games this season, to a 3-4-3, or rather a 5-4-1 when off the ball. So that was a change I didn't really expect, and already when I saw that, I kind of expected Bournemouth to play differently to what I kind of predicted in my preview yesterday. But getting into the game, we started the game off well. We moved the ball quickly. Morata made good runs in behind. The likes of Luiz, Jorginho and Kovacic as well tried to find him with over-the-top chip balls. But also, we did use the wide area as well and put in crosses at times, which we didn't do as much as I would have liked at Newcastle. But Bournemouth were solid and kept us from really creating any big chances early on and throughout most of the first half, in all honesty. The only real, kind of chance we had early on was a double save for Begovic following a Willian cross from the byline and then a Willian shot from a tight angle when, basically when the rebound ball fell to him and Begovic kind of saved it just by lying on the floor after he kind of collided with David Luiz. So Luiz then actually made an almost very costly error when he undershot a simple pass in possession, around the halfway line. Bournemouth won the ball and attacked with 2 or 3 players from the halfway line, but Kante showing his incredible pace and physique to make up a lot of ground when steaming back and just about managed to clear the ball ahead of the Bournemouth wide man, who the ball was square to really inside the box, and obviously Kante cleared it out for a corner. Really well done there by Kante, but Luiz, he really has to watch out for those kind of things. But, the next situation in the game, really just typical Luiz. First, he makes a big mistake that almost cost us a goal, and a few minutes later, he plays a perfect over-the-top ball to Alonso out wide, but then puts in a nice little cross towards Morata, with the Bournemouth defender just about getting there ahead of the Spaniard. The ball then came back to Willian, who squared it to Jorginho at the edge of the box, but the Italian then dragged his shot slightly wide, which obviously was a little bit annoying, but it was still good play. And I can't lie, like I said earlier, Bournemouth set deeper than I expected and made spaces a lot tighter than I expected them to do. Especially as the first half went on. At the start, it wasn't as extreme, and they did have the moments when they did try to press, especially when we had goal kicks. But generally, they defended really deep and made it extremely difficult for us to move up the pitch with the ball at times. With around half an hour played, Bournemouth through Callum Wilson found themselves with a really good chance to make it 1-0 at the time as he put a volley following a cross only slightly over the bar, and Luiz, again, a mistake that he was caught napping, just jogging backwards while Wilson just ran past, basically behind him to get onto the cross and into the box first. And that shouldn't be happening. I know Sarri wants to defend by only watching the ball, which I'm still have to figure out how that really works. I'm like, okay, watching the ball is great, but you kind of still have to figure out where your opponent is. That shouldn't have happened, and obviously Luiz and Chelsea in general was lucky that Wilson put that ball just over. And the next 50 minutes, in all honesty, were quite dead. We had all of the ball, didn't create anything, but literally on the 45th minute, Marcos Alonso hit the post from the edge of the box with his weaker right foot after we played our way forward really nicely from our own goal kick. Willian laid it off to Kante after the ball came to him. Kante then ran forwards with the ball towards the edge of the box, then played it out wide to his right where Morata was, who played in a nice cross towards the far post to Eden Hazard, and the Belgian basically found himself with a wall of 3 cherries stood in front of him, so had to lay the ball off kind of to the, over to the on-storming Alonso, who took the ball first time, like I said, but only, of course, hit the woodwork. And that was then really half-time at 0-0. And it wasn't the most eventful first half. Like, we had almost all of the ball with around 76% possession. A lot more chances created, but except Alonso hitting the post, no real big chances. And obviously, I mentioned the Bournemouth chance through Wilson. They didn't really do much more. They only had one shot on target in the first half, which was an easy save for Kepa. But, we still couldn't really find a breakthrough. Bournemouth, like I said, defended really well, made it difficult for us. And at the time, I thought maybe Pedro for Willian wouldn't be a bad move, simply because he's a bit more direct usually than Willian is, and possibly Loftus-Cheek or Barkley for Kovacic to give us more strength and physique in that midfield against, their banks of first 5 and then 4. But saying that, Kovacic played well in the first half, I thought, especially defensively. He did well tracking back and supporting Alonso nicely, which, Ross Barkley, for example, didn't do, enough against Arsenal, I thought. And Kovacic also put some nice tackles in along the way. And going forward, he didn't do that much except for a shot from outside the box that got blocked for a corner. But that wasn't really down to him. That was mainly down to Bournemouth defending very deep and very well. What Bournemouth did exceptionally well, I thought, in the first half was keeping Hazard as quiet as possible. He wasn't completely quiet and invisible, but he wasn't as involved as we've seen Hazard be in the past. But, they did well on that, to be fair. Getting into the second half, there wasn't really many changes to this game of football. Chelsea dominating the ball, trying to create. Bournemouth sitting extremely deep and defending well. I mean, that was really all that was happening at the start. In the 55th minute, it was yet another very good chance for Marcos Alonso. Good play by Kovacic and Eden Hazard on the left wing, who then ended up cutting the ball back to Alonso, who was waiting just inside the box, took the shot first time and forced Begovic to make a really good save. A few minutes later, Bournemouth actually made it 1-0 again. It was really close because following a corner, Nathan Ake literally missed from about 3 yards. He just about didn't get enough off his foot on the on-flying ball, basically, and put it slightly over, and wide. We did get lucky there. Like, he should be doing better there. And, we did get lucky, although it would have been a very undeserved lead for Bournemouth at the time. And then we made our first 2 substitutions. First, it was Giroud coming on for Alvaro Morata in the 61st minute. And a few minutes later, Pedro came on to replace Willian. And Giroud kind of made an instant impact to the game. He had a good shot from the edge of the box on the volley with the outside of his left foot. But annoyingly, his shot hit Pedro and went out for a goal kick. I'm not quite sure whether his shot would have gone in or would have gone on goal or just a bit wide. It sure looked like, there was a good possibility of it going on goal, and if it, would have done, it would have been placed very nicely towards the far post, so I don't think Begovic would have gotten to that. Not quite sure, but still a decent effort by the Frenchman. But then in the 72nd minute, we finally broke the deadlock as Pedro scored to make it 1-0. Nice play from deep to bring the ball forward by, Alonso, and I think it was, Jorginho involved as well, to Pedro, who played a nice 1-2 with Olivier Giroud just outside the box. Pedro took one more turn to wrong foot the defender, and then took the shot with his right foot towards the bottom left corner, and fair play. I mean, he found that corner perfectly. Unsavable for Begovic. Although, even after seeing multiple replays, I'm still not sure if Pedro's effort took a tiny deflection. I think it might have done. Not quite sure. Huge goal by Pedro, because, we were really looking for that. And obviously, we wanted that win, and Bournemouth defended really well, and we struggled to create any big chances. And, Pedro is continuing his great goal-scoring form with 3 goals already this season. In the 79th minute, then, Sarri proved that his words about Ruben Loftus-Cheek improving a lot recently in yesterday's press conference weren't just smoke, as he brought Ruben on ahead of Ross Barkley for Mateo Kovacic. Then Pedro had a good chance to make it 2-0 with just under 10 minutes left to play after a good run by Loftus-Cheek himself from midfield, who then laid the ball out wide to Pedro, who was basically had no defender in front of him. But, his effort put it straight at the keeper, made it a fairly easy save for Begovic. Should have done a bit better there. But only a few minutes later, Eden Hazard then did manage to seal the deal as he made it 2-0 in the 85th minute. After a nice 1-2 with Alonso coming from the left, the Belgian then took the finish with his weaker left foot from a fairly tight angle, actually, just past Begovic into the far corner. And he kind of put it past Begovic in exactly that tricky spot for every goalkeeper, where they're never sure whether to try to save it with their foot or whether to try, go down and save it with their arm. And that's basically exactly what happened. And, Begovic just couldn't get down quick enough, and kind of Hazard put it between Begovic's arm and his body while he was going down. So, a good finish. Begovic, it's always a tricky position for that, even though the goalies always look silly, but it's really hard for the keepers to actually save those. And like I said, it was a good finish, and that was obviously Hazard's first goal from open play. Not his first goal, of course. He scored that penalty at Newcastle last week. And if I'm not mistaken, that's now 2 goals and 2 assists for Hazard already this season, and that in only 2 starts. And in the first 2 games, he only played for like 20 minutes in the first game and then for like half an hour against Arsenal. So that fair play. I mean, it's going really well for Hazard so far. And also Alonso with yet another assist. I mean, how many is that for him now? 3? 4? I mean, if you count the shot that ended up, in the own goal at Newcastle last week as an assist, plus of course his winner, at Arsenal as well. So while there are still some defensive issues with Marcos Alonso, which also kind of Sarri pointed out in the press conference yesterday, going forward, he's had a great start to the season and is being a really important player for us. Like, he hit the post, he also had another big chance. Like, all the big chances that we had in this game that weren't goals were kind of Alonso chances, like the big chances anyway. So, he's really important to us as much as some people don't like to admit it. And even I, said plenty of times that I would prefer to see Emerson on the defensive side of things, even though Emerson isn't the best defender either, but he's just quicker. And Alonso sometimes, to me, just lacks that pace to get back because he goes forward so much and is so important to us going forward. But, fair play. Great start to the season. In all honesty, nothing much really happened after we made it 2-0. So that was basically the end of the game at 2-0. And of course, we won, which, was great. And it was the difficult game that Sarri predicted yesterday in his press conference. Bournemouth set deeper and defended more than I expected them to do. And they did also have 2 or 3 very good chances to score. The Wilson chance early on. Then, of course, the Nathan Aki one. And, a few kind of half chances along the second half as well. So Bournemouth didn't exactly make it a great game to watch because they defended so deep for the majority of that game, but they did have the chances, and on another day we might have gotten unlucky and they might have gotten away with a point or even 3. But while they held on and defended very well, we eventually found the breakthrough by being patient, keeping possession, tiring the opposition out, and getting 2 goals late on to keep the winning streak going. 4 wins from 4, 12 points from 12 points possible. And you can't really ask for much more than that, in all honesty. Sarri ball isn't anywhere near in full flow yet, and the more our oppositions defends, and the more and the deeper they sit, really, the more obvious that is. But we're only 4 bloody games in, 5 if you count the Community Shield. But in the league, we've won every bloody game. People need to stop complaining. I get that it's not always perfect to watch, but sometimes you just have to admit that an opponent can also defend very well. You can have great players, you can have the likes of Hazard and Pedro and Willian and Jorginho and Kovacic, and you can have all these players. But when the opposition defends really well, sometimes you just can't do much about it. Like, just look at the way we won the Champions League against Bayern Munich and Barcelona. We defended extremely well. It wasn't them being poor. It was us defending extremely well, mainly anyway, at least in my opinion. So sometimes you just have to, accept that. But like I said, we're patient. We held on. They held on, but we were patient and kept being patient until we found the breakthrough, and we did, and won the game 2-0. Like I said, 4 wins from 4. What can you really ask more? Individual performance-wise, I can't really complain about anyone. Of course, Luis had those 2 lapses of concentration in the first half when he gave the ball away, and then when he let Wilson run, in behind him and into the box. So, of course, fueling that discussion again about whether Luis or Christensen should be starting. But of course, that is, at the end of the day, just, a decision for Maurizio Sarri. We'll obviously have to wait and see. One thing I would like to see is actually Kepa, the keeper, improving on his coming out for crosses, especially for set pieces, because I feel like on set pieces at the moment, we look a bit vulnerable and it's always a bit shaky because so much is left down to defenders. I would like to see him come out for more balls and, to catch more crosses. He tried once today, then he was luckily fouled, but, didn't really look all too convincing. I do understand that he lacks quite a bit of height compared to Courtois, who was obviously an absolute beast at commanding his box and coming for crosses, which, a lot of it is down to his height, but I would like to see Kepa do that a bit more. And it was obviously the one thing that was kind of his weakness in, La Liga as well, coming out for crosses, commanding his box. I still think he can improve on that. While he's not the tallest of goalkeepers, there's plenty of short goalkeepers like Iker Casillas, for example, who was great at coming for crosses as well. So I don't think you can complain about that too much. I just would like to see it improve. I also think Eden Hazard really turned it on in the second half. I think in the first half, like I said, Bournemouth managed to keep him quite quiet. And as the second half went on, he came more alive. He switched positions left and right and moving around really quickly, playing 1-2s. And he also seemed to benefit from Olivier Giroud coming on, who, along with Pedro, really, the introduction really gave us an edge in the game. But especially Hazard really seemed to benefit from Giroud coming on, being able to play more 1-2s, even though he also did with like Kovacic and Alonso, of course. I feel like Giroud kind of helped Hazard a little bit. And of course, Pedro came on to score. So, great substitutions, can't really complain about it. Should Pedro and Giroud just have started? I don't know. Still think Morata starting in that game was a valid, option, like I explained yesterday. But, of course it will, also fuel that discussion. Should it be Morata or should it be Giroud? Early on in the game, before Bournemouth sat so deep, Morata made some very good runs in behind, but the passes to him just never really quite found him. If they did, he would have been through and goal and he possibly would have scored. And then no one would be discussing this. But they didn't find him. But you can't really blame Morata for a pass not finding him. Like, he made a decent run. So, But, you know, that's why we have that option. That's why we have the option of bringing Giroud on, who's a completely different type of striker. He helped us out. We won the game. That's all that matters. And like I said in my preview, the deepest the opposition sits, the more and more Morata will struggle, and the more and more of a valid option Giroud does become. Either way, we won the game. We deserve to win. And I'm very happy going into this international break, of course. But yeah, that's really it from me. Leave me all of your thoughts on everything that happened in the game down in the comment section below. Who did you think was our best player? Were you happy with the performance? Did you know, were you just annoyed that we didn't score more? Whatever. Just leave me all of your thoughts down in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit that like button. Like I said at the beginning, let's see whether we can hit 800 or more likes in this video. We'd massively appreciate it. So smash the like button down below. Also, don't forget to check out my social media, which is last50.7 on both Instagram and Twitter, as you can see over here. And also the links to both of them will be down in the description below. So if you could follow me over there, that'd be absolutely massively appreciated. And of course, I mean, this is YouTube. So if you haven't already, do make sure you subscribe to 100% Chelsea. And also don't forget to click the notification bell button and choose to be notified with all uploads so you don't miss any of our future videos. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up the Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.